Hello, everyone. I'm Andy coming to you from the United Kingdom, but this time all alone.
Yes, it is very disappointing that we're not recording this in a cafe again, Andy. This is your other host, Scott, everybody, and I am back in my usual spot in Toronto. It's always a pleasure, though, Andy. Good to see you again.
Likewise, it is the Tea and Timbits podcast that you're all listening to, and this is about global perspectives in business development to help you prosper. And as with every month, we have a specific theme, and this month is sales methodologies. And I'm actually quite excited about this month. As Scott mentioned off air, this is an area that I get quite excited about. And so we're going to start with one of the areas that I spent a lot of time working with probably about 10, 15 years ago, and that is the challenger methodology. But before we get into that, Scott, do you have a story for us this week?
I sure do. And I'm actually looking forward to learning a lot more about sales methodologies. I'm sure that my experience with or without them will be completely useless to the way that these conversations unfold, but we'll see. I've been told I'm a good challenger salesperson, but I've never studied the textbook. So I look forward to understanding what that person meant when they said that. That's not my story. We are hosting the Digital Momentum Summit for the second year in a row this month. And it is back to that usual familiar, is this worthwhile debate? How do you measure the return on investment when you are spending money on an event? And so, I was asked this again recently to sort of justify the costs that are going into this, and thought that I would just sort of share their response or their perspective that I had when that came up. So first of all, I concede the point that it is not always, it's usually difficult to draw a straight line between we did this event and it resulted in this revenue. Rarely, but it does happen. You can say, oh, I met this prospect, they signed up for work as a result of how we were able to engage with them at that event. But usually it is one touch point in the journey that you go through with your prospect, with your buyer. And so it is therefore, so the event that we're doing is therefore multifaceted. I've been really intentional this time to say there's three audiences that are important to me. And I might put different priority on different audience segments, but it might vary year to year or moment to moment. Prospects, obviously, yes. Do we want to capture new people who are interested in us, who are going to come and see us in a more trustworthy light and show and see that we have additional value to offer, and that we are sort of a source of this kind of summit and environment that people can participate in order to advance their thinking, get themselves out of the office. It's not meant to be just showering people with attention and affection and spiffs and dinners and things like that. It is really honestly about elevating people's capacity and delivering them content, showing them examples, talking to them about tools, talking to them about approaches, getting them in a room where they bump into somebody at the lunch line to talk to about the way that it works in another situation. And we do have some honest to goodness prospects that are going to be in the room. Oh yeah, I've sort of seen these guys, or they might be in a deal, in an opportunity discussion with us. Come on in, you'll get a firsthand. Okay, so that is useful, but I think that is the most unlikely to directly result in a clear ROI. You probably can tie it back to that being a touch point, like I said. The second is our existing clients. So every single one of them gets invited. Join us. We want you in the room. We've got other clients that we are putting up on stage to discuss their results with the room. And I have to say, from doing this before, that is the most immediate clear value that comes out of this. When we did this last year, I can't say that it wouldn't have otherwise happened if we had not brought them into this room and had a day where we get to just kind of knock some ideas around and explore their thinking and get them into a casual moment where they say something that we can pick up on, and vice versa. But it definitely lowered the friction between trying to discuss potentials, possibilities, ideas, new technologies, and us being able to implement that for at more than one client, 2 or 3, which is ROI, complete. But the third is then partners. And I guess there's a fourth as I say this, but the third is, who are some of the other people that are sponsoring or supporting the event with us? We've got presenting partners in this case, which are some other consultants in tangential service delivery areas, CRM, leadership training, data and analytics. We do all of that kind of stuff, but not in a dedicated way like some of these other do. So there's a good Venn diagram of expertise that we can bring forward if we help platform these other folks as well, and then their allies. And then we've been able to give them this audience, and then they're a little bit more endeared and encouraged and excited to make sure that they want to pay it forward. We're definitely top of mind in their ecosystem, and we get the amplification effect of having those advocates out there keeping us in top of mind in a very sincere, meaningful way. We have other consultants that are attending the event. We have probably people who do the exact same thing that we do, probably not at the same sort of scale and size that we do it. But I think that is great. I think that having folks like that in the room are going to see the kinds of things we do. They might want to bring us in. They might want to partner or collaborate. They might be. So I have no problem with what might be considered sort of a competitive service provider coming and getting a little bit closer to the work that we do. And then the fourth one is just general brand amplification. So in the course of putting this event out there, we have shown up on social media. People know that we do this kind of thing. We're going to get all the content and thought leadership out there that's going to help us with our content engine for months and months to come. And that is going to also endear us to the partners and sponsors that we had participating and supporting the event as well. So anyway, can I directly say, oh, we spent X amount of dollars and earned Y amount of dollars in return? It would be a lot of work to do that. It could be done, but I can tell you inherently that that's how I'm thinking about whether or not I'm going to do it again next year. Can I then sit back a month from now and go, all right, what kind of prospect activity did I see? What kind of partnership activity did I see? What kind of current client uplift did I get? What kind of broader social engagement have we gotten? How much reach is this content getting? Okay, put all those sort of signals into one bucket and make a judgment on whether or not it was worth the investment to do that. That's how I'm going to evaluate whether or not this event has a return on investment.
I really like that, and I like that structured approach to it. Just out of interest, did you go into the event with that plan and that sort of goal of analysis and reflection?
Yes, very deliberately this year. Like I made a choice. It was kind of, I had to come up with a solution. We had one of our sponsors brought in a high profile keynote speaker. They cost a bit of money. I wasn't ready to make that kind of a commitment investment at that kind of cost. I had to figure out how to get kind of something else that would anchor the day. And that's when I came up with the idea to do a keynote that provides some thought leadership from a collective of experts. We've done a little bit of our own unique research as well that we're going to be presenting. And so we've collaborated on this thought leadership, which we then provide. So then there's, so I very intentionally said, that will work, or at least that will be something that I'm willing to make work So it was an intentional part of doing the event this year. We'll see. I'll report
And
back.
you have decided that you are going to do it again?
Not yet. No, have not yet decided. But those are the signals and the inputs that I will
help you to make that decision. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, let's move into the episode proper and the sales methodologies of the month of June. We are going to be looking initially today at the Challenger sale, because that is the the foundation that will make sense at the end of the month why we've done the ones that we're doing in a particular order. And if you're familiar with them, then you'll understand that as well. But we're starting with the Challenger, and then on the 10th of June, we'll be doing Spin, and on the 17th, we'll be doing Sampler, and then on the 24th of June, we'll look at the tools and sales operating systems that bring it all together. But today, it's the Challenger. Now, Scott, you mentioned that it's not something that you're particularly familiar with as such, but it is something that you get information that you're using and that you apply without necessarily knowing it. The Challenger, to summarize it, I suppose, would be essentially it's a platform to teach customers to think differently. Mm-hmm. That's really the ultimate story there, and it's based on creating constructive tension and kind of reframing a customer's assumptions, and then leading the change for them towards a particular direction that would make sense for them to solve their problem, but or achieve their goal. The thing with sales methodologies, and this was kind of an important caveat for me when we were thinking about doing these episodes, is that we don't just make these like a book review or an analysis of each methodology, but that we talk about how we can see the way that we would use them and how they would particularly apply in the business that we work with. And I think that's going to be a much more valuable conversation than just reviewing a methodology or a book. But I want your perspective as well, Scott. So tell me, what do you think?
Well, I think if you're going to have anything useful come from me in this contribution, it's not going to work if we do a book review. But maybe I should be reading some of these books. When you started to describe Challenger, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I can see, why I've received certain feedback before. If I were to, okay, so the way that I structure we kind of have two different, it's more like three, but for the sake of this, I'll focus on two. So to contrast it, one is somebody needs a big transformation. Things are systemically like under leveraged, under invested, and it's critically impeding progress. And so you need to make, and it's time, and the business knows it, and we need to make an investment, and we need to overhaul this thing. And in those kinds of situations, I get the most excited about those, because I'm selling, therefore, the end outcome, and proof that we have a way to get to that outcome. So it's about articulating the vision and then substantiating that with how that can come to reality, and getting them to think about opportunities that they hadn't contemplated. So from our experience and our capabilities, here's a path to prosperity that we want you to consider. We think is a good path forward. And in those kinds of situations, it works more than it doesn't. I mean, our sales works more than it doesn't, period, but that's a pretty low bar. It needs to work a lot more than that. Contrast that to somebody who might just say, my website's out of date, it's stale, it needs a facelift. Can you tell me how much that costs? Like, I'm like, okay. I suppose you could still do the vision but that's a lower stakes journey, I guess. It's they just want to see some thing that excites them, and they want to feel good about that direction, and it has to cost what they're expecting it to cost. So are those both Challenger? Like, am I describing something that lines up with Challenger there?
In a way you are. But there's something else that you do, and you do it intuitively, but you haven't talked about it. But you've talked about kind of the other side of Challenger, because typically executives, in complex sales, and even in relatively straightforward sales, salespeople are kind of taught to. They ask customers about what they need and the challenges they're facing, and then they respond with a solution. And then how you present that solution can often be a differentiator, and that's what you described there. And that's something else, and that is very customer focused. But very often in complex sales, that's not enough. And these senior buyers or buyers groups, they often understand their symptoms. They understand the thing they're trying to achieve. They understand the challenges that they have. But what they don't often understand is the full commercial consequence. Because if you've got, let's say, an operations department who's struggling to, have a digital solution that communicates with the supply chain and with the finance and with the customer's organization, so that they can monitor and manage all the incoming orders, and then the delivery of those, and the planning, the construction, and so on, they will understand that. But how does that affect the purchasing team? How does it affect the sales team? How does it affect the overall management? How does it impact on the customer? What is so if they make those changes, what is that impact? And is there maybe something else that's further up the chain or further down the chain that could also be something worth addressing, or something that needs looking at? So I mean, so for example, they'll often know that there's rising costs, there's slow conversion, they struggle to retain certain customers, the delivery times are off, whatever it may be. But what they often don't see is the pattern of activities that go on behind the scenes that lead to those issues, and the cost of doing, and what the cost of doing nothing to make those changes would have as an impact. And so this is why a lot of people don't do Challenger, but why Challenger is so effective, because Challenger requires a lot of work.
I was just going to say, now that makes sense. Like, our sales process is very consultative. We do these workshops. We get into different business units, and we want to make sure that,
like I say, you're doing it anyway, but you don't see that. But you don't necessarily see that as a methodology as such, but it is, and it is this Challenger methodology, because you are challenging those assumptions. You're challenging their status quo, not to then go, aha, now I can sell you more things, but to make sure that you've got a relevant solution that's actually going to solve the underlying problem, and that you're not just putting a sticky plaster on a cancer or something.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so that squares. The thing that I think that is particularly effective in, back to last month, large complex deals.
It is for complex sales. It is, yes. Yeah. It's not something for some a company that's selling tools to a workshop.
Right.
Do you need the tools? Yes. Okay. Cool. There you go. Right. That's a sales still, but it's not complex sales.
Right.
And if, however, you've got a company in the supply chain that needs tools for delivering their job, and then they're part of a automotive manufacturing company, then challenges that affect them can be much, much bigger.
Because I often find in large complex deals, it works. It's beautiful. and it builds confidence.
Mm-hmm.
In smaller deals, when you do a little bit of that, when you start to probe and explore and uncover and expose other vulnerabilities and considerations, it has a negative effect. People are like, oh God, no, these guys are making it too complicated. I don't want to work with them.
And this is where the structure of Challenger works so well. Like I say, you need to understand the customer's business, and you need to understand their industry, and you need to understand it in a way that will allow you to teach them something. Mm-hmm. But it's also very important that you tailor your approach to each customer and each customer's needs, and that you then take control of the situation so that you can lead them along that journey. And so those are the three key areas that Challenger focuses on, and that's teach, tailor, and take control.
Well, this conversation couldn't come at a better time for me, Andy, because I'm starting to think our fiscal year is going to change in the middle of the summer. Here we are just before the summer, arguably the start of summer. And I need to think about sort of how we're going to improve upon our results for our next fiscal year. And you've already got my mind racing with, I need to formalize for us when we're going to pull forward this kind of a sales strategy or that kind of a sales strategy, because I can't use Challenger. I have to deliberately decide, okay, that's a Challenger sale, or applying Challenger will be great for that. It's complex, it's big, mm-hmm. That'll work. And now I'm racing to have this conversation with you about the rest of the methodologies for the rest of the month, because I need to know which one's going to fit for my more, I'll call them, for lack of a better phrase, cookie cutter opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Can we do the next episode?
we could go a lot deeper into this one, but I think staying where we are on the teach, tailor, and take control framework, and a recommendation to anyone who hasn't read it is to read the Challenger Sale. And if you find it's relevant for you and your business, go on and read the Challenger Customer, because that flips the perspective to the customer's perspective as well. It's really interesting, really worth reading those two books. They were originally written by a couple of guys whose names have escaped me, but they were part of the corporate executive board, which has since been
Matthew Dixon and Brent Adamson.
They're the guys. Yeah. And you got to bear with me. It was like 2012 it came out, so it was quite a while ago. But yes, the corporate executive board is no more. They were bought by Gartner, and it was integrated into their systems. But the Challenger methodology is still alive and well, and is still relevant to this day. And I highly recommend anyone who's listening to give it a read.
I'm just adding it to my Audible list right now, Andy. Thank you.
Amazing. Right. Well, anyone listening and you want to find out about the other things we've talked about this year and in previous years, go to tandtimbits.com and check us out on social media and listen to all of those old episodes. Thank you very much, Scott.
It was already in my Audible list. Thank you, Andy. Thanks, everybody.